I want to speak to you guys about really what is pedophile philosophy and what is also pedophile psychology.
You're 19, Denton, and you're from Abbeville, Louisiana. In your early teens, you were molested and sodomized by Father Gilbert Gothay.
39-year-old Father Gilbert Gothay has admitted that he sexually abused at least 35 boys.
The results of the investigation found more than 200,000 minors were sexually exploited by French Catholic clergy.
The Catholic clergy in Portugal sexually abused nearly 5,000 children over the past 70 years, according to a panel of experts.
On a multi-year investigation into child sex abuse by members of the Catholic clergy in the state of Illinois. And this is our report.
Because I have read this incredible book.
Long-awaited report on sex abuse by the Catholic Church is out. It claims about 200,000 minors have been victims of predatory clergymen and others affiliated with the Church. The Church declined to participate in the investigation that comes after years after similar probes in France, in the U.S., and in Ireland, to name a few.
A number of priests I've interviewed believe very strongly, and I agree, that pedophilia in the clergy has really become the Watergate of the Catholic Church.
This was 1988, and I became an article machine.
And so after saying this and calling upon people to stand up to pedophiles,
the Catholic Church is facing scandals and being forced to pay millions of dollars.
In the 1980s and 90s, the press reported crimes that seemed inconceivable.
Sins of the fathers.
Case after case of alleged sexual misconduct.
Committed by Catholic priests and covered up by bishops.
The bishop was warned about Cos's behavior, but kept moving him around.
In 2002, revelations reached a crescendo.
Sparked by the release of thousands of pages of documents.
You're a filthy pig.
I say this because I have read this incredible book.
Sparked by the release of thousands of pages of documents.
Because I have read this incredible book.
We turn to the sexual abuse scandal that's shaking up the Los Angeles Catholic Archdiocese. Last week, the diocese was forced to release 12,000 pages of documents about dozens of priests who were accused of molesting children.
Incredible book.
Kerala is the heartland for India's 20 million Catholics. Here, the church looms large, a guiding light in daily life. But after decades of silence, Kerala's nuns are starting to open up about a dark history of abuse.
Man domination is there, and priest domination is there.
Sister Lucy says she was abused by a priest when she was young.
So what we all should be agreeing on, sensibly, is that that is wrong. We should all be on the same team when it comes to standing up to pedophilia.
Andrew Collins joins me now. He survived sexual abuse at the hands of numerous priests as a boy and as a teenager, and he's also an advocate for other survivors. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. Have you had a chance to process the news this day? You know, the Catholic Church there in Australia is now saying it won't report sexual abuse disclosed during confession. So, you know, Andrew, as a survivor and as an advocate, what do you make of that?
I think it's very disappointing. During the recent Royal Commission, we heard evidence that priests had sexually abused children, had gone to confession and had been absolved from those sins, and had then gone on to rape and abuse more children over and over again. We also heard that children had gone to confession and in the confessional had said that they had been sexually abused and nothing was done. And finally, we also heard that some children were abused inside the confessional.
And so what happened thereafter, I did this live and I then took it a step further by confirming to people that the problem here is that there is a religious cult.
Clearly the Cardinal has known for many, many years. Since he came here in 1984, he's been receiving reports of various priests molesting children.
Is that there is a religious cult.
I think that that's where the church is going to be in serious trouble. And I don't think that they realize to this point how angry the Catholics in especially America are right now. I think that that is something that is only going to spread, and it is not something that is going to wear thin or wear off. Things may get quiet, but it is not going away. I think that this is just the beginning of a revolution.
And I started to do a live on that because I am so frustrated with the fact that there are examples of clear-cut pedophilia.
It's a secret that she kept for nearly 40 years.
J'avais 16 ans quand je suis arrivée pour la première fois dans ce monastère.
Thérèse was raped by a monk while she spent her holidays in an abbey when she was just a teenager.
They practice incest and pedophilia.
He would say that he had been pardoned, that he had been forgiven, so therefore he was not doing anything wrong. He would mix that with prayer and say things that, looking back, were pseudo-spiritual.
As a sacramental rite.
As abuse victim myself, I'm glad that it's all out in the open now, that everybody knows, the whole world knows. And the Catholic Church knows, and they knew all the time. But they can't deny now that they do know, which they have done throughout years and years and years of their silence. And instead of taking action when they knew the abuse was taking place, they could have saved lives upon lives, and the torture for families and children, and just their silence just has ruined more lives that you could think of.
I can give you tons of reasons, but number one, if you defend pedophiles, I cannot support you.
Thank you. I think this one might be for Francis. Sure. Why, when children are the essence of Christianity, trusting, loving, innocent and virginal, do some clergy sexually assault them, and then, after complaints, all the bishops worldwide protect the offenders by moving them to another parish, aiding and abetting them in future crimes, sometimes for decades.
If you defend pedophiles, I cannot support you.
And using top lawyers to resist the disclosure of documents.
The diocese and the bishops fight like crazy in order to keep the release of documents to an absolute minimum.
The originating diocese will put their hands up and say, we didn't know anything, when in fact, they probably have a 2.5-inch thick file of allegations.
So why is the Catholic Church fighting an issue it has promised to resolve? This is how the world's largest institution is inadvertently protecting pedophiles.
I cannot support you. I cannot support you. I cannot support anything that you're doing. It'd be very simple.
Yeah, in case you have not heard the news, I became a Catholic.
That I was this red-headed kid that used a scented shampoo and enticed this priest. He preyed upon me. He targeted me, he set me up, he groomed me.
I often compare these perpetrators to vampires. They're feeding somewhere, they're getting their victim pool from somewhere.
They keep a record of everything. Those are all on file. That's what they're protecting. We have only scratched the surface. I call it the cooperation with evil.
They know the truth, so shame on them.
Trust in priests and in the institution church has been shattered.
You cannot accept that someone saying pedophilia is not okay. If you can accept that blanket statement and you instead attack the person who is bringing the facts to the table, you need to deeply re-examine yourself.
Is that why you are going to support and promote this video, right?
You know, there was a molester at my church. We had a priest that was a molester named Father Hallahan.
Shocker. Wait a minute. Is it a Catholic church?
Shocker.
What the fuck, man? You can't trust anybody.
And the kids,